Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Everything You Love, episode 22. I'm Rob Arnold, and I'm so glad you're here. I know this episode is long overdue. I got a handful of questions to answer for you, and I've got more Metallica riffs on the way. So I hope you'll stick around, and let's get right into the first question. Luke Knutson. Kind of a cliche question, but what are some funny Spinal Tap moments you guys had on tour? So I got a couple Spinal Tap moments that come to mind right away. The first is Chimaira was in Pomona, California, playing this place called the Glass House. Can't remember what year, but we're all backstage, just about to start the show. Our crew's up there doing the final little sound checks, getting everything ready, and one of our guys runs back and is like, man, the bass rig is totally dead. I can't get anything out of it whatsoever. It's not working at all. Tried replacing cables, switching out cables, different basses, different all that. Can't get the bass rig to work. It's totally dead. So Jim LaMarca, Chimaira's bass player, follows him out there to see if he can figure it out. He's messing around. He can't figure it out. Meanwhile, we're all just waiting there, getting antsy. Stage time is like right now. Jim comes back. He can't figure it out either. By this time now, Mark Hunter, the singer, he's pissed. And he decides he's going to go out there and take a look at it himself, And keep in mind, a lot of bands, us included, part of the theatrics, part of the suspense of going to a show is not really seeing the band until, the lights drop or the curtains open and, the first chord is struck and then you see the band. And that's part of the what's awesome about seeing the show, So to see the singer up there working on a bass rig is kind of weird. But anyways, I think he was able to stay off to the side. But Mark walks right up to it, takes one look at it, and turns it on. Viola. Bass is working, everything like that. It just simply wasn't turned on. And sometimes it's just something totally stupid like that. It takes another set of eyes or a different perspective or to sit back and take a deep breath and think about it for a second. And a lot of the time, it's just something stupid. Mark simply flipped on the switch and there we go. Show starts. Next up, we got one from Swain Bjornstrand. Hey Rob, if you ever created a Chimaira best of, which tracks would you include? Okay, so I thought about this for a sec, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna choose 2 tracks from every Chimaira album that are maybe my favorites, or the first that came to mind is my favorites. Oh, but first, I love this part in 1, check this out. Love that part, man. So, 2 tracks from every album that I love. Pass Out of Existence, I'm gonna go with Painting the White to Gray and Lumps. Some badass grooves in those. Possibility of Reason, definitely. Implements of Destruction and Pure Hatred, Pure Hatred is just one of those badass songs I'd say kind of help make the band, Chimaira, Everything You Love, and Bloodlust. Those are a couple of my favorites. Resurrection, Secrets of the Dead. No, wait, that's Infection, my bad. Wait, Resurrection, 6, and The Flame. Infection, Secrets of the Dead, always loved that one, and The Heart of It All. Then The Age of Hell, go with Scapegoat and Born in Blood. I know a lot of you guys like Born in Blood, Phil Bozeman, the man laying it down there. Probably the thrashiest tune on the record as well. So anyways, I'd like to know what your guys' favorites are. Let me know, maybe a couple from every album. And if anybody's list would match up with mine, that'd be pretty coincidental. And if anybody does match up with my list, exactly, you win a fist bump. yeah, something I wanted to mention here really quick. Something cool that I just came across like last week or the week before. I was watching Sunday with Ola Englund. And he's going through, I don't know if he's checking out guys' riffs, his riff challenge or what, I can't remember exactly, but he pulls up his screen, he's sharing his screen with people, and what do I see? Take a look at that. Right there, that right there is my 6 Feet Under Missing Victims playthrough in his up next there. So anyways, that's pretty cool. Of course, Ola and I share a connection with 6 Feet Under as he replaced me in the band on guitar in 2011, 2012. So that's, I don't know, just pretty cool. Hey, I'm a fan too, you know? So I dig stuff like that just to see that it's in there. And then another thing, actually, I came across a comment from a long time ago. Ola says, "Awesome, Rob, just when I needed it the most." He's talking about, it was like one of my tutorials for a 6 Feet Under song. So I think he was preparing for a tour way back when and needed to learn a couple songs from the Undead record. And so I had done these tutorials, and it's cool to know he was watching them, and I was showing him the riffs, you know, from thousands of miles away. And another dude, XX Dominion, says, "When you find two of your favorite guitarists interacting on YouTube from almost literally 1 million years ago, you guys need to do a coffee with Ola." I know Dominion, and I mentioned Ola in Everything You Love episode 1 as an inspiration to even do the show in the first place. And Ola commented right away and said, "Rob, we need to do a coffee." So the invitation's there. And I, of course, replied, "Let's do it, man." But I know how Ola works. You know, just I see that he does them either at his office there in Sweden, or he comes to NAMM and does them there, you know. So either way, both places are tough to get to right now. So I'm not holding my breath, but if the stars align, I'd certainly love to have a coffee with Ola. Anyways, pretty cool. And the next question we've got here from Mr. Keith Davies. I have a potential question. In the grand scheme of musical conquests you've achieved over the years, if you had a time machine and could go back to a certain point in time, where would you go, and what reason would you give for reliving that musical experience? Well, but number one experience, and I have talked about this on the show, was that Disturbed arena tour we did, Killswitch Engage with Kuna Coil in like 2009. When you're doing arena tours, you're doing like hockey arenas and basketball arenas, and there's just something about that. Again, back to that dream when you're a kid and you're seeing Metallica or Guns N' Roses in videos on MTV, you know, or whatever, playing these concerts and stuff, and you're like, man, I want to do that. And then to do that was just the best. So grateful for that. And so right now, if there was a time machine and I could go back, I'd go back and do that tour. The band was in a good spot. The shows were killer, just things were going really well, and that was just a really good time. And I did appreciate a lot of that, and I would appreciate it even more if I got the opportunity to do it again. Good question, Keith. Next one we've got is from Guitar Noise. Hey Rob, sorry if this has been asked before and I missed it. I know you use a Kemper, which probably covers everything you need, but do you use any amp sim plugins? And if so, which ones are your favorites? Also, it would be cool to know any other general plugins that you like to use when recording. So actually, I don't use a Kemper. It's just kind of not my thing. I think they're cool, but they're just not for me. In 2017, I went out and captured all my tones with a great engineer named Clifton Miles, who owns the company Tone Crate, which is where you can get my custom Kemper pack. And we did all the Chimaira tones, the Elite tones. You can find that at robarnoldworld/store if you're a Kemper owner. So the Kemper to me is just a kind of a specialty, like a novelty item that you need if you want to be able to capture the sound of many amps, or you want to take your amp sound with you somewhere else, or you want to download other people's sounds and just have any sounds you want. So I don't even own one. I still think it's a cool thing, but I I just prefer a regular head. I don't like to mess around with all that kind of stuff personally. But anyways, amp sim plugins that I do use, my go-to all the time is just the stock Pro Tools 11 free plugin. And a lot of the time, I won't even mess with the dials. It's the closest to being able to plug in and have something sound good, in my opinion, right away. And that's the thing I think about amp sims. None of them to me are just plug and play, and that would be the ideal amp sim to me, where you can just plug it in, no matter what guitar you have, whatever the scenario, you just plug it in and it sounds ripping off the bat. In my opinion, they all require work to dial in. You get one, I think I can make any guitar sim sound great because they all take that work to dial in, to EQ a little bit, to mess around with, you know, different gains, different presence, all that. So at any rate, once I find one and I spend that time dialing it in, I just generally stick with it. I'm not like a person that just wants to try a ton of them because, like I said, in my opinion, they each require a bunch of work to set up just to get it to sound the way I want it to sound. So once I find one, I just kind of stick with that. And that's been the 11 free. Now I have a couple like presets that I've saved myself, Rob 1, Rob 2, as I make little tweaks and things like that just to improve it here. Oh, this needs a little more presence. And then the next time I find that, oh, I like that, I'm just gonna go roll with that. So every little tweak I make it for my next few productions. And then but then after that, I've also used the Waves GTR, but that one I can't get the heaviness that I want out of it. But if I want some like rock sounds, or for my Disaster project, that's the Waves GTR across the entire album there. Just kind of more of a rock and roll, grungier type sound, and that's really flexible for cleans and crunches. So I like that one. And the latest one I've been using quite a bit is the JST Guilty Pleasure. Again, took me a little while to dial in, but it's a nice smooth sound. I like that. Can't point to any specific productions that you guys can listen to right now that I use that on, but somewhere on my Instagram, I did recently, not recently, within the past year or so, and I posted, hey, this was made with the JST Guilty Pleasure. Yeah, that's kind of it for my amp sims. I messed around with the STL stuff a little bit. A couple other free ones people suggested, and they're all, like I said, it's just all kind of the same to me. You just dial it in and eventually you'll get to the place where you want to be. And then my go-to plugins, I'd love to talk about that. I'm a Pro Tools guy, and the first one, my go-to plugin is the 7-band, that EQ, the Pro Tools EQ3 7-band, I believe it's called. I just like its simple interface. I like plugins, EQ plugins like that, where I can see exactly what I'm doing across the bands there. I prefer that over the knob like you'd find on, you know, Pultecs and SSLs, and just that type of interface. More old school, I'd say. Turning the knob and just really using your ear, which is what you should be doing. But I like the visual aspect of the 7-band, or even like the Q10s and things like that, where you can move that around and see. You can see your bell, you can see your shelf, you can actually just see all that kind of stuff. I like that a lot. My go-to compressor is the CLA3A. Again, the ease of that too. I like the fact that it doesn't have attack and release. I like that I can just put it on and dial it in quickly to do what I want to do. There are certainly instances where I put a compressor on there where I do want to control the attack and release, but for the most part, I just prefer that CLA3A there because it's just kind of plug and play, which is what I like when I want to get something fast, when I got an idea and I just need to get it out there. Then in terms of effects, for reverb, I like the Waves TrueVerb. That's a really cool one. I've been using that forever. Again, super easy. For delay, the Waves H-Delay. I like that one a lot. And then finally, the L1 limiter. I like that just for limiting and for getting a little more volume out of things. Like those would be my Desert Island plugins if I could only use 5. The L1, the CLA3A, the TrueVerb, the H-Delay, and the EQ 7-band. A couple other honorable mentions. The Soundtoys little micro shift. It's like a widening type plugin to widen like a monophonic source or a mono signal. So a lot of the time, examples, I'll use it on vocals all the time. Let's say I want to widen out some scream in the stereo field, but I only have one track of it. You can use the micro shift to spread that out. You need to be careful with it though. Too much of it, you get more like a chorus, weird kind of effect, where if you want it to be more transparent, you just use it lightly, and it's perfect just to widen out vocals. And then you can automate that as well and suck it back in if you need to. Lots of tricks you can do with that. I use it on guitar solos a lot of the time too. If I only have one track up the middle, but I want something to spread out, I also use it on effects like delays. spreading those out as well too. Again, the Sound Toys little micro shift, it's pretty cool. It's free all the time too. Not all the time, but once in a while, I mean, so just look for that. Let's see, on my master bus, I like the SSL compressor from Waves, and the linear multiband. I pretty much have those on my master bus in every session. And then finally, the CLA Unplugged is actually the plugin that I use for all the clean guitars you've heard so far and will continue to hear in this video. It's a really cool plugin that just has really nice sounds for cleans. I like the one I use for this video. I think it's called Big Oz, a preset. That's like a plug and play, which I've said I liked. And then there's like Big Sky and like Big Strum or something like that I use a lot of the stuff in the acoustic for the Elite's Total Destruction record. So anytime I want to do something clean or acoustic, the first thing I'll grab is the CLA Unplugged. It's just got really nice tones, really lush verbs that really enhance the harmonics and notes of the chords. Just pretty cool. So yeah, good question. Here we go with one from What Lurks Beneath. Once you guys submitted your finished album to the label, what does the meeting look like with the label and the band on the marketing, schedule, plans for the record and its release? Photo shoots, music videos, when singles will drop, what singles, album release, online marketing, etc. And is it the label calling all the shots on this? Is there a collaborative effort between the label and the band to make decisions on what, when, who, why, and what, and how a record and material is marketing up to its release? So every band is different, but in Chimaira, Mark was really in tune with the label on that. And labels will get bands where all guys want to do is rock and don't want anything to do with the setup and campaign. And then we'll get bands like ours where there's somebody who's really on point with that stuff and really wants to be involved in every aspect of that. So basically, let's say a tour's ending and you need to, a band knows, I'm just going to use us. We need to make a new record. So maybe the touring is ending, you wind down for a week and you get back in the rehearsal room and start writing some tunes. At that point, Mark would already be talking about to the label about when he thinks we may finish up. And so then we'll kind of get a date in mind for when we want to enter the studio to record, when we think that will end, how long mixing will take, how long mastering will take, and when we can finally deliver the record. And basically, 3 months is kind of the time period in the industry from when the record is delivered to when the album is released. And in that 3 months, all the stuff is done, like the promotion for it. It's being like manufactured and packaged, physical, or being uploaded for digital. A lot of the artwork is getting done. Tour is getting booked if it hadn't already been booked, but the band's preparing for the tour, which you may call the promotional tour, before the release date, leading up to that, so that there's hype around the release. So you kind of work backwards from that release date and plan everything out. So as we're finishing up with the recording, we already have like the photo shoots booked. As we're hearing mixes, we're determining maybe what the single would be. The label will have input on that. Mark will definitely have input on that. They'll talk that stuff through and finalize something. And then at that point, we realize, okay, this is going to be the song, so we need to make a video for this. Where are we going to shoot the video? Who's going to shoot the video? Then when's it going to be ready? All that's tied into the campaign. Again, in that 3-month window, you want that to come out somewhere in there. And then there's all sorts of like bullet points within that, like, okay, 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. But so in our case, Mark was just, like I said, really on top of that stuff, and all the decisions were shared, I'd say, equally between he and the label, or more so with Mark, because they trusted him. They realized early on that he was making good decisions. And it was great too that we had Chris on board too for the artwork stuff. So Chris would, Mark would funnel a lot of that through Chris, and Chris would have his set of things to work on. A lot of the time he'd be involved in the album design and layout, perhaps cover artwork, obviously all the merchandise. Chris was big with the merchandise and getting designs ready for that, hiring people for designs. Just, the team working together all towards that release and the tour and that whole cycle for everything. We were a beehive. You know, I was, you know, with the band. You know, we'd be rehearsing all the time. You know, well, Mark and Chris were doing these things. Of course, they'd be at rehearsals too when necessary. So, like I said, just a beehive of activity, everything going on to make all of that happen. We're a very hands-on, independent type band. But again, there are other bands that aren't like that, in which case label and management will just kind of take care of everything and take a bigger piece of the pie as well. So unfortunately, that's going to be it for this episode, guys. I appreciate everybody watching, especially if you've made it this far. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button for me. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well, because there is plenty more on the way. If you're a guitar player, please check out my guitar instructional DVD through the Rock House Method. I'm teaching soloing, riffing, songwriting, arranging, all sorts of stuff like that. I'm sending them out personally, autographed. Find that in the Rob Arnold World store, robarnoldworld.com/store. Again, where you can find that Tone Crate Kemper profile pack as well, t-shirts, elite stuff, all that. You can find that right in my store. Thanks so much again, guys. I will see you on the next one. Stay safe, healthy, and cheers.